Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Cancel for Maintenance podcast. If this is your first time joining us, we're a show that takes a behind-the-scenes look into the gritty, non-glamorous life of aircraft maintenance. We share some laughs, impart some wisdom, all in hopes of giving you that split seconds relief in your day that can hopefully prevent a mishap. I am your co-host, Six. I am once again flying solo today. MVP and Shoreline are handling some responsibilities that need our direct attention. We look forward to having them back again and have a more consistent schedule that aligns with both our responsibilities and our work duties, which as of this year has been very rough. So until that time, we're going to do our best to give you guys a more consistent schedule of episodes. With that said, I was having this conversation with some of our patrons, and I made this joke once that I wish I could spend money in my real life like how we do at work. If something's $50,000, whatever, we need it, we must have it, swipe the card, get the part. And if they have in more than one, get some more because we're probably going to break it. But when it comes to, say, $5 for a coffee, $9 for a burrito, we can skip it, right? I can just go to the gas station, get one of those tornado burritos for $3, right? It's all fun and games until reality really hits you. And shout out to that patron who just really nailed it. Like, I wish my job wasn't always pinching pennies and telling us to just figure it out. You're definitely not alone, friend. And so today we're going to be peeling back the layers on some of the hilarious yet harsh reality of just trying to keep planes safe, legal, and flying when you're working with more than just aluminum tape than dollars. So let's get into this. When we do things as far as aircraft mechanics, there's a lot of times where we're kind of short on resources. It's almost like we're having champagne demands while working with a beer budget, if that makes any sort of sense to people. So picture this, you're asked to deliver perfection, but all you have is a busted ladder, some other support equipment that are in a sketchy condition. Some of the tools you're kind of lacking, some of the hazmat is expired, and it has to be done like right now. Like emergency status, this has to be done within an unrealistic timeline. Does that sound familiar to some people out there? I can recall some times myself where we had very sketchy support equipment, like a stand that wouldn't go up, or a stand where we had to like jump on it for it to come back down, or it was one of those just barely hanging on by a thread type of support equipment. In a previous episode, MVP also mentioned that we had this tow tractor where the only way for it to get it to go was we had to have a pair of vice grips to pull on the throttle cable, which anyone out there that's hearing this, if you're a safety person, your brain is instantly probably crumbling right now. And that's just how it was. And it wasn't for like we were trying to just get away with it. We voiced this out to whoever was willing to hear it. And sometimes when they weren't willing to hear it, that, hey, we can't work with this stuff. It's either unsafe or it's not working properly. And we had to Frankenstein it in such a way to just get it to go or get it working. And depending on what organization you're with, they kind of just like throw it to the side. Like, well, whatever, we don't have money. We don't have money to replace it, to fix it, to do whatever to it. So just do what you do and make it work. And this kind of reminds me of all those different videos or those jokes where they would say something like, well, do you want it fixed or do you want it running? What are you feeling? Because you can't have both. And of course, like the bean counters or the people who just want to have a quality product say, well, I want it fixed and running. Like, whoa, time out. With the way things are and the way you're giving us resources, it's either one or the other. You can't have both. I'm like, well, just do what you do to make it work. Like, deferred part replacements, ancient tools. These are daily struggles. It's a hurdle that we as aircraft mechanics constantly deal with. And we all have that line that management or whoever the shot caller is says. There's always that one line that they just routinely say. It just drives us up the wall. And I'll let you figure that out, which one that is that really just drives you nuts. But one of the big ones, at least that will kind of get your brain going on this, is how long is this going to take? I can tell you, at least from my standpoint, how long is this going to take is probably one of the top pet peeve sayings that I have. It's unrealistic how we can have so little, or we can have so such scarce resources, and we're just expected to just deliver perfection. Like, you're asking me to turn rocks into engines, shy of me just like using my imagination really, really hard and then just manifesting it into reality. That's really the only way it's going to get done. We're constantly asked to be in like this MacGyver episode. For anyone out there who understands what MacGyver is, right? We're just expected to just turn imagination into reality, or turn hopes and dreams into and manifest it into reality. It's challenging, and there's some mechanics out there, there's some technicians out there who have the creativity to make it happen, which is kind of the enabler in this, where our creativity to solve a problem kind of enables the underlying issue. Like, well, you made it work last time. Can you just do that again? Sure. If you're I just need you all to be really cool with a lot of shady stuff in order for this to happen. And we kind of sort of get fed this line where, well, I don't care, just make it work. Or they feed you this line where they have like some type of plausible deniability, where if something goes wrong, they pretend like they were never part of that conversation. And so the fault kind of falls back on the mechs, which kind of sours this relationship that we have with both the management and the air crew themselves. Because when they have these demands where they want perfection, and believe us, we would love to give it to you. We absolutely would love to give you perfection. If we were able to make it happen all the time, every time, it will. Because that's our names going on these planes, and ultimately your life. So anything shy of what we would deem as perfect, we would be sketched to put our names on it. But instead, we are forced to have to pick the lesser of evils, so to speak. And in doing that, we're kind of just like, well, it's safe, but there's going to be some things that's going to be deferred. Like the coffee maker is not going to work, or you could only do certain types of flights, which these certain types are safe, 100% safe, but you can't do everything that this aircraft or what you're demanding it to do. Examples like doing a cross-country flight from, say, Los Angeles to freaking London in one shot. It's doable, but it's probably not going to happen nonstop, or one shot over there, right? But from Los Angeles to, say, Denver, no big deal. It's fine, right? And some of these are kind of cosmetic too. I'm going into the weeds about this, but there's certain things that are cosmetic, like it's totally within limits, it's totally fine. And there's some of these where like, well, you might not want to push the envelope with this. Like if I say it can only go from Los Angeles to Denver, don't be trying to take this to Miami, you know? Or for our EASA friends, like from London to Paris, it's fine. But from London to, say, Bangladesh, you might want to rethink your route here. So that's one aspect of it. Now, onto the creativity and problem solving as things. Again, we mentioned that we're sometimes stuck in this MacGyver episode where we're putting these situations and we have to figure out ways to solve the problem. And again, like this is kind of sort of the good thing about mechs. Like we have the creativity to do this, and there's some out there who are really creative. Like they know the planes, they know the limits, they know what tools are available, they know what resources they can use to make it safe. But not everybody is a MacGyver. Not everybody is that creative. And some of this is where it comes to the tribal knowledge of things, especially nowadays where the manuals only list a certain specific way of doing things, which is fine. But at the same time, when like there's some aspects of a manual that it's a little ambiguous, and it doesn't give a whole lot of yes and no, if you understand what I'm saying. And this is kind of where the mechanics really shine, is because their experiences really come into the mix, their training and their upbringing really come into the mix, their mechanical skills and so forth. So they understand the concepts, they understand what it's meant to do, and depending on what resources are available, they can solve the problem. And that's one of the big things that we as technicians have that most others don't. For example, like if you were to ask a pilot that has zero inclination about the mechanical aspects of the plane, besides like basic general information, they're not gonna be able to solve this problem. Versus like the technician who's been in this for 10, 15, 20 plus years, they're gonna know the ins and outs of this plane, or they're gonna know the general practices that can help this plane become safe. And so all these techs out there working wonders, being the superhumans, being the superheroes, sacrificing, finding creative solutions to make the problems go away. Hats off to all of you. You guys are the real MVPs on this, turning budget resources into airworthy machines with nothing but sweat, sarcasm, some Loctite, a cup of caffeine, whatever your caffeine of choice is, because I know some of us don't drink coffee. You guys are the best. And it just further shows that your expertise is very well needed in today's world, especially with the supply chains and the resources and whatnot that are still trying to catch up from those different aggravators that put us in this situation today. And let's be clear on this, that we do not cut corners. As much as we joke about it, as much as we say that we have done shady fixes, these shady fixes are not something that will violate safety, right? First and foremost, we will not jeopardize safety, especially if people are flying in it. Like if we put our name on this, it's not something that we're just going to be like, whatever, you guys wanted to fly, you deal with, we'll just let it roll, right? Because planes, unlike certain things on the ground, can't just pull over. There's no like cloud platform we can just park it and fix it and be on our merry way, right? We don't just round them off with a file, say, and just hope it passes inspection. And as much as we laugh about it, as much as we joke about it, as much as we have done some shady things to make things work, there is a dark side to all this frugality. Because while these clever fixes are impressive, they're often born out of necessity rather than choice. And this kind of goes back to what I was saying about the enablers of things. It's a testament to the skill and ingenuity as maintenance professionals have, but it's also a reminder that the constraints that we're working under, we make this happen because we have to, not because we want to. And again, like these creative solutions and this testament to mechanical skill and the technicians that have the creativity to do these things, they are, in a sense, the enabler of things. Because when the bean counters or the people who make the decisions see this, that, oh, you can make this work with such a minimal, you can give champagne demands with a beer budget, or you can deliver me Thanksgiving with a dollar menu style budget. Sure, because we have to, But if we had the choice, we wouldn't, because if we keep doing this, what's going to happen? It's going to enable you to think that, okay, this is fine. This is normal. This is just the day to day. This is just the mechanics crying and bitching about things. It's not going to suffer. My operations and ultimately my top dollar is not going to suffer, which is bad. In the long run, it's bad. But let me circle back real quick and celebrate those moments of ingenuity, those technicians who've used the fixes, who came up with those creative solutions, who put things together and just like have this superhuman awareness, all the resources and the availability of things around them, and being able to make those choices and being able to put things together to make a plane safe. Those are lifesavers, and tip of the hat, high fives all around to every single one of you who do those and are able to have that knowledge and pass it around to everybody. And that's one of the big pluses of having an aviation community, or having a community like the one the aviation realm does, is where if one person doesn't know, there's somebody who knows somebody who owes somebody that's able to figure it out and help you along. And in most cases, they're no more than a phone call away, an email away. Sometimes even you can just shout it out through social media and you'll get responses back, right? Again, but let me backtrack that a little bit. Is you'll get a good way to figure it out, but again, you also have to follow whatever your maintenance manuals say, because sometimes the knowledge that we put out there is dated, or sometimes the knowledge only works on a certain model, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that little caveat that, hey, just make sure this is compliant with your manuals or your operation procedures, and you be solid. But just being able to have that communication line really saves the bacon for everybody. And as much as we like to chuckle about this, there's also, again, that deeper conversation to be had. It's about that balance between making things work and ensuring that we have the resources to deliver it properly. So while we tip our hat to those creative solutions, we also need to acknowledge the importance of proper resources and support. I can make things work with limited tools and resources, but again, if we had the choice, we would love to do this the right way. And by the right way, meaning I use a wrench to do wrench things. I use a hammer to do hammer things. I have support equipment that's supposed to do what it's intendedly made to do, versus using one tool to act as many and then using one support equipment to pull weight while it's on its last lung, so to speak. So every fix is not just being about getting the job done, but making sure that it's done right and we're using it in the right fashion. So let's talk a bit about the true cost of doing things cheap. We're talking safety compromises, minor issues that can lead to major issues because they're deferred or lack of the right resources. These are times when incidents can be traced back to these air quotes workarounds. We've made many episodes about this, of how like sometimes cutting corners or just finding ways to kind of stretch the rules or stretching the budget, stretching resources and so forth. When the exceptions become the norm, then when do we have a do not pass go line? Where do we draw the line when the exceptions stop becoming the norm? And time again, we've seen this, especially when we're on those outfits with the deadline budget. Like, we will only pay you if this happens, or you'll only get paid when this happens. A familiar example for this is, say, for flight attendants. Flight attendants do only get paid when the aircraft pushes away from the gate. So all that time, say, if there's an issue going on, like a rowdy passenger or there's a maintenance breakdown at the gate, they're not getting paid for that. And so sometimes the delays can be 20 minutes, 30 minutes, maybe an hour plus, or they have to reschedule the flight. They're not getting paid for that. They only get paid once the door's shut and it pushes away from the gate. So think of that as an example for our flight attendant friends out there. All right. There's definitely a drawback for being cheap. And again, when I mentioned with the exceptions become the norms, majority of times we do these exceptions to save money. Like you just slap some aluminum tape on it, just use as is for all our manufacturing people out there, or just buff it out kind of thing, right? Which in most cases, as long as there's like a waiver for it, like there's a customer or there's a higher level authority that's going to sign off on this, you as a mechanic, dust your hands, whatever. If they're willing to waive it, it's not my problem anymore. But over time, all those gripes, it conditions your brain to think about exceptions. It makes you think that, well, if they waived this before, so it's not a big problem. Until it becomes a big problem, right? The mental emotional strain on maintainers, like we're told safety is everything, but then we get asked to kind of ghetto rig stuff, just make it work or work on the budget, or we don't have we don't have the money for that. And our solution creativity, it wears on us. It burns us out. And once we burn out, it's a slippery slope. Because once you have a good mechanic or a good technician, a good specialist, and they start burning out and coming down that slippery slope, it's very hard for them to find that way back up. Not to mention, like, for every time we take delays, every time we don't hit the deadline, doing it cheap, yes, saves dollars for today, but as those things come on to us, those wear on, as those drag forth, the hours rack up, the safety concerns rack up, the delays rack up, and over time, as those things come up, it starts looking to be a cost problem or a money issue. So what's the first thing that anyone who's a bean counter or anyone who's ran a business, what are you going to do? Right? This is a cost problem. I need to cut it. Right? And in some outfits, the biggest spend on anything is not the parts. It's not the aircraft. It's the people doing it. It costs more to keep a person employed than it is to buy a part in some cases. So what happens? We cut people. Right? And this is a cycle that repeats itself all too often. You start with a quick fix to keep things moving, but those temporary solutions can lead to bigger headaches. And as those bigger headaches start percolating up to the bean counters, they start paying attention to these things. They start seeing it as a cost to their top dollar, or as a negative to their top dollar. The first thing they're going to start asking is, what are we doing about it? And half the time, if not most of the time, the number one cost that's going to be an easy solution for them is people. So now we're dealing with our jobs. So not only we have thin resources, now we have a low mental mental health on this. The morale's down and everything, our well-being's down, and now they're starting to take our jobs from us. So I don't mean to be painting a negative picture here, but that's the reality of things. So acknowledging the problem is the first step towards a change. And then sharing these stories. If any of you have stories, please, by all means, share them with us. We'd love to put this on air and just show just how widespread of a problem this is. Highlighting the real impact of these cost-cutting measures. It can really push for better practices and support. Because there's one thing that we as the maintenance community have a problem with. It's having a unifying voice. We saw some big movements when one company went on strike and they refused to settle until they got properly compensated. And that was, I believe, the first time we as aircraft mechanics really banded together on that. And for the most part, they won, which is a big step. So not with that as a template, we can use this to really amplify our voice and say, hey, we are not happy with this. We cannot keep working like this. We can't keep using the exception as the norm. And every time we find an exception, now we move the goalpost. And every time we move the goalpost, it becomes increasingly harder to come up with creative solutions. And it shouldn't be creative solutions all the time. For one-off emergencies or in a dire life or death situation, absolutely. All bets are off at that point. Make it happen. But this kind of stuff will burn people out. And when people start burning out, safety issues increase. And that's a giant fact. And a flashback to when we first started this podcast, why we even began this venture was because people were burning out to the point where they do not care if they walked in front of a turbine. They would not care if they walked in front of a prop. They figured that this would put an end to my suffering. And that's a terrible place to be. When they're so burned out that they're so morally worn down, when the exceptions become the norm so much and they've exhausted every bit of effort to make this right, that they see it better to walk in front of a turbine to solve the problems. So for people out there listening, if you're a technician, or someone who supports techs and specialists, please help band voices together and let's unify our thoughts into this. Like, hey, like, yes, this is the norm. Yes, that we do exceptions for in emergencies, but this shouldn't be an all the time thing. And we also need to address the notion that if people are burning out just to keep things running normally, maybe that's a sign to kind of pump the brakes or reassess your operation schedule. Because sadly, machines can be replaced, but people can't, as much as some people feel they are. And sure, they might be replaceable at some point, but you're going to take that L more times than none if that's the metric you guys are rolling with. So let's keep this conversation going. Let's advocate for the resources we need to do the jobs right. Let's make sure the value of quality work is recognized and that the people behind the wrenches, behind the line, behind the ramp, behind all these flying machines are given the respect and support that they deserve. Thank you all for sticking with me as we unpack these issues. Remember, whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, your work makes a difference. And your voice matters. Let's keep pushing forward this together. To wrap this up, so penny pinching doesn't make aircraft maintenance cheaper. It makes the job harder. To everyone making it work, no matter what, this one is definitely for you. You're not just maintainers. You're miracle workers. Really, you are. You're our superheroes. You're our celebrities. We will sing your praises day in and day out because of the work you guys do. So if you have any stories that are similar to this, if you have issues, let's unify those. Please share them with us. Share your stories, whatever I missed, whatever you feel that you need to add to this topic. Please share it to our social medias, our email, our website, whichever is the easiest for you. The absolute best way to have conversations like this and share those stories is through our Discord channel via Patreon. We love hearing from you. We love having these conversations, and this not only expands our knowledge, but this is stuff that we can share back to you and help us, help everybody keep the aircraft flying safely. So don't forget, stay safe out there. Keep your head on a swivel. Follow your maintenance manuals, and by all means, help each other and be good to each other. Until next time, everybody, thank you for listening. Keep your wrenches turning, your spirits high, and we'll see you on the next episode. Bye, everybody. We'd like to take a moment to give a heartfelt shout out to our fantastic patrons. Your unwavering support is the magic behind the show, helping us produce thrilling episodes, keep our gear in top shape, and create awesome merch just for you. With special shout outs going to SaKonna, Eric Shaw, Kiel K, Daniel Liang, Mike Sherwood, Caleb Stockdale, Carm M, Dan Schubert, and Ryan Freshour. Thank you all so much for your support and your patronage. If you enjoy our show, why not join our Patreon community? You'll unlock a whole slew of perks, including access to our private Discord community, special discounts, early board access to our merch, and front row seat to our sneak peeks of our comics and other projects. And if you're feeling adventurous, don't forget to strut your stuff as an aviation aficionado by visiting our store at cancelformaintenance.com. For those who appreciate a touch of class or rugged charm, check out our affiliate at Rockwell Time at rockwelltime.com. Use the code CX4MX for 10% off your total order. If you need a headset, be it for in the aircraft or on the ground, or just need better ways to preserve your hearing, visit DalcomTech at dalcomtech.com. Got a burning topic or you'd like to be a guest on the show? Drop us a line on our contact us section at cancelformaintenance.com. We're all ears and we're eager to bring your ideas to life. Stay connected with us on social media. You can find us on Facebook at Cancel for Maintenance, or you can follow us on Instagram and Threads at Canx, that's CANX, for Maintenance Podcast. Lastly, be sure to check out our comics on the Tapas app. We might just be the only webcomic focused on aircraft mechanics. Like, share, subscribe, and leave us your thoughts. Thank you all again for being the great community that you are. Your support means the absolute world to us, and we can't wait to catch you all on the next episode. Until then, keep 'em flying.